My name is Ernest Morrell, and I will be a professor in the Department of Arts and Humanities, and I will be director of the Institute of Urban and Minority Education, or IUME. I think I'm going to be doing teaching in the English education, master's and doctoral programs in arts and humanities, but part of the work of IUME is creating courses, and so I plan to be creating courses in urban education that will be taught through IUME and that will be available to students across departments. So there will be pre-service teachers, there will be practicing teachers that are coming back for master's degrees, and then there will be the doctoral students. So I plan to offer classes across all those divisions, I guess, for lack of a better word. I do the same thing at UCLA. I teach undergraduate, pre-service teachers, master's and doctoral students. I plan to utilize the footprint in Harlem because it's important, I think, that the university come to the community, but that's not at the exclusion of also having a vibrant presence here and being available to students here and having courses at Teachers College main campus. Harlem has been so connotative for many years, most famously maybe the Harlem Renaissance, but I think that Harlem has represented so much to so many different communities of color over the past 100 years. Opportunity that maybe you didn't have in your home country, or opportunity that you didn't have in the southern United States, but at the same time a little bit of alienation from the heart of Manhattan and New York. And Ralph Ellison's definition of Harlem was any place up north where the Negroes live. The border kept changing depending on who was coming in. So I think that's important because there has been such tremendous energy by the residents of Harlem advocating on their own behalf and advocating for all of those who around the country face similar conditions but didn't necessarily have the mouthpiece of being in New York, the largest city in the country. Teachers College also has a storied history of being involved and engaged, not just in issues of education, but in the very structure of how a college of education should function. And being right here in Morningside Heights, adjacent to communities such as Harlem, gives Teachers College an opportunity to really wrestle with the most pressing educational issues of the day. So I think any project that emanates out of Teachers College that's in Harlem has to be in dialogue with Harlem. But I think that there's a lot that an institution like Teachers College can offer because we have experience in asking questions and answering questions through research and scholarship that can be beneficial to the communities. At the same time, the communities have a history of advocacy and activism and fighting for self-acknowledgement and respect that we can learn from as well. And I plan to engage both in dialogues about not just our particular questions around teaching and learning, but how does a university or how does a college of education or how does a research institute work most effectively within communities and with schools and with children and families. What a college of education has to do is make an imprint where they are, with the people that you can touch in the schools and neighborhoods and communities that are right around you. But not everyone in America has the privilege of being able to live within walking distance of a college or university, so the knowledge can't only be contained here. The things we learn in Harlem or in Queens or the South Bronx have to be shared in Mississippi and Idaho and Montana and California and Arizona. So we have a simultaneous charge of being productive and effective and valuable right where we are, but communicating those learnings to a much larger audience. So we will be doing projects and we will be very hands-on in the neighborhoods of Harlem and the neighborhoods and the boroughs of New York, but we plan to use what we learn in those small locations to share with a larger national, if not international audience. One of the things that we're going to do, hopefully, is create a national movement of young people. And we started that in Los Angeles about 12 years ago with them as young people researching their own neighborhoods and communities and communicating in a very local way to the policymakers and the elected officials and the administrators right there in Los Angeles. And that expanded to conversations with the governor and the state superintendent of public instruction, and rather than thinking of it as being, a political activity, it was really about giving young people voice. You think about who are the key stakeholders in education, who's most affected by what happens in schools, and it's young people, and who's the population that's least listened to regarding issues of education, it's young people. So we see the work as about giving young people voice. It's such a wasted resource. It was John Dewey who said 100 years ago that the curriculum has to be centered around the experiences of kids. And we bring curriculum to kids. We don't include kids in the making of the curriculum. We don't honor them as people with ideas and values and passions and experiences. And even further, we don't necessarily create the spaces for them to talk to one another about their passions and experiences and ideas across context. So young people learning from young people is a novel idea in education, but I think it's key to the future of what we do, because we're not preparing young people for a society where knowledge is static. We don't necessarily need people who can regurgitate knowledge. We need people who have the power to communicate their convictions and the identities as public intellectuals and agents of change who should communicate their ideas. So part of the learning process in the K-12 pipeline has to be giving young people the authority and the skills to be better listeners and better communicators and better collaborators. That's what they're going to need for the workforce. That's what they're going to need for civic engagement. One of my models has been find or create authentic reasons for hope. And philosophers will tell you that hope is necessary to our being, right? Without hope, there is no humanity. Education has to give young people hope. So part of that is helping them to feel better about themselves as intellectuals and as skilled and beautiful and bright young people. But another part is creating spaces where their words have value. So when we started the work in the 90s in Los Angeles, it wasn't just helping young people to collect information, it was creating spaces for the exchange of that information and bringing people to the table to listen and to honor the young people and what they have to say. So that will certainly be a part of what we do here. And that builds hope more than saying you should be hopeful. It's creating the spaces where hope becomes inevitable, just like creating the spaces where success becomes inevitable. On the topic of hope, I'm hopeful. And I think that part of our role as a research institution is to create authentic reasons for hope through the work that we do. There are amazing educators and amazing students in our schools in New York City, in Chicago, in Los Angeles, in Atlanta, New Orleans. And the public narratives, I think, are very limited and very negative. And it's not about, creating success as much as it is documenting the success out there and being more explicit about the conditions that make success inevitable. But I'm hopeful because, we are at a time now where I think there is a collective will to really look hard at our schools and think about how we can make them equitable and excellent for all students. And I'm very privileged and honored to be at a place like Teachers College because I think that we can be the leaders in doing that.